Hello, everyone, and you're very welcome to the No Cell Podcast, the best wrestling podcast on YouTube. And that is not a prediction, it is a spoiler. As always, Tequila the Body Ventura is in the building. Alan the Fiend is in the building. And Mr. Fancy Pants, the Master of Graphics, Cullum, is in the building. Um, gentlemen, excuse me to quote Vicky Guerrera, but we need to talk about Monday Night Raw. Now, there's been a few things that happened, but let's start at the very start. Paul Heyman, who had a very active night, I think he had 3 appearances during the course of Monday Night Raw, appeared with the Beast incarnate. And once again, Obafemi marched to the center of that ring. Your thoughts on Oba and Brock, who appeared to be selling like there's no tomorrow, to get him even more over than he already is?
We've all just gone quiet.
Well, you want to take that?
You know what? I'll go because I think
Go for it.
I'm probably going to be in the minority here. I don't rate it at all. I
Right.
don't.
You're not by yourself, Con. You're not by yourself.
It's so stereotypical. You know what I mean? They've brought in this guy who's big, he's strong. I know. Who's the last person that came in and absolutely dominated who can still put on a show? Oh, Brock Lesnar. Let's bring him in and let's destroy. And I'm not a Brock Lesnar fan, but let's destroy everything we've built about Brock Lesnar just to push this new kid. It's terrible script writing. Terrible.
I think
This
the
is
build for
chosen.
WrestleMania has just been so dull, hasn't it? There's something lacking, really, with this whole build. I'm not excited for Mania at all.
He's the chosen one, though, guys. Obafemi's been deemed the chosen one. I'm not sure who by the suits and some of the IWC have designated Obafemi the new chosen one. But when I look at it, but when I look at him, he's exactly out of the Vince McMahon playbook. I thought we all isn't the narrative that we all couldn't stand Vince and we hated the way he did stuff. This guy is a walking Vince McMahon's wet dream. I haven't got nothing against the kid, not at all. But I don't see what I mean. Com obviously doesn't see it either. But a lot of people see something amazing in this guy, and I just see another big jacked up guy who might be good at some point, but is way too green. Really, Rebel's in the center. But big up Rebel. Rebel's the main eventer.
Can I ask the question? Obviously, we've seen issues in the past with the build of big guys. In that, we had Feed Me More getting fed like 120 pounds, 5'8", nothing players, and getting absolutely steamrolling them for ages. We had the Monster Monks men kind of being fed skinny little nobodies. I suppose that's the problem with booking a big man. And obviously there's a conversation to be had about whether or not there needs to be more Javon Evanses in the content. But is there a way that they could have actually booked Obafemi and actually got you on side? Because it seems like they're damned whatever way they go when they're trying to book a giant.
Well, during the promo for Heyman, he was obviously he's the mouthpiece for Brock Lesnar. He dropped some names. We thought, he dropped Braun Strowman, Bobby Lashley, Dean Ambrose, and I thought, oh, okay, this is obviously what they're trying to compare, everything to. So that they want Obafemi to live up to that, because by Heyman standards, those 3 didn't beat the Beast. None of them beat the Beast at all.
I mean, that's not much to live up to. You got Bobby Lashley, you couldn't got a promo if his life depended on it. You got Braun Strowman, who all you say is "get these hands" and scream his name. That was a talent that man had.
And don't forget the train noise.
Oh yeah, sorry, that was added extra, right? Yeah. So Ambrose, slightly different. He's not a monster. Ambrose can cut a promo when he wants to.
Yep.
But I guess there's just people who Lesnar's beaten. Didn't Lashley beat? Hold on, didn't Lashley beat him? I know Strowman and Ambrose didn't. I'm pretty sure Lashley beat him.
I can remember many of Brock's matches. The last one he had was against Cena, and he beat him, and that was quite fun. I'm not counting War Games; that didn't count.
It is funny that they want to transfer the heat from Cena. That's technically what they're doing. So Brock came back, destroyed Cena in 5 minutes, which is always fun to see.
Yeah,
and then they're gonna transfer that heat, from lack of a better term, and the chosen one's going to be over Femi. Wouldn't have been my choice, but they're all in. I just don't know what he's done that is so exciting. I told you, if I'm missing something, then by all means tell me what I'm missing.
He does the walk to the ring.
Yeah, this.
But that's
Bobby Lashley defeated Brock Lesnar in the 2022 Royal Rumble. He lost in the 2022 Crown Jewel, and he also beat him in the Elimination Chamber 2023. So he's beaten twice.
I suppose though, it does raise one question though. We've had the Ring General fed down the throat about the assassin of those that are retiring. Yet, even though it seems that Brock Lesnar's back for a short-term contract, a last hurrah, they haven't fed Brock to the Ring General. And he's literally going to be cooling his heels at home in WrestleMania.
But that's because it doesn't fit the story they're trying to tell. They are trying to tell, look at this new lad, look at how big and strong and powerful he is. This guy is here to be the new Bobby Lashley, the new Braun Strowman, the new Brock Lesnar. This is who we've chosen to take the company forward. And if he goes against, if he goes the Ring General versus, the Beast, nobody's going to care because everybody knows the Ring General is probably going to win. Everybody knows Gunther's probably going to win because Brock's retiring anyway.
Yeah.
So why not get somebody over and make him the new, look at him, he's the new big bad.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Keith Lee, the Keith Lee push they tried.
Well, Bearcat Keith Lee.
Yeah, well, that was a problem. The problem is Vince McMahon didn't like him because of his. Well, let's be honest, didn't like him because he didn't look like a bodybuilder. He was a massive dude, but of course he was pudgy, and Vince McMahon hates pudgy guys.
Yep.
So that's why they stopped with that one. They didn't know what to do with him, and as Alan said, they ended up calling him Bearcat, and then they more or less let him go. And to be honest, he hasn't done much since. He was in AEW
For a short spell.
Occasional match in AEW, but I think it's to do with health reasons. I think it's probably his weight. I think something to do with his heart. But don't quote me on that. It's just stuff I've read. So
yeah, I think he was absent for a period of time towards the end of his contract due to heart-related issues. Yeah. But as you said, don't hold us to it. Yeah. I'm going to move us swiftly along and try and run AEW pay-per-view pace where they do match after match after match, spot after spot after spot. But that takes us swiftly along to the Vision and the Usos. And obviously, one of the Usos has snapped since CM Punk called out and slandered his dead uncle because he took some brass knucks and he buried them into the members of the Vision. How are you liking what they're doing with the Usos? Because they've only reunited them as a tag team, and now we're seeing kind of division amongst them again.
I'm not sure what else they can prove. They've won the tag titles a number of times. They're the current record holders, are they not? For the longest reigning tag team champions.
Longest reign, yeah. They beat the New Days, didn't they?
Yeah, they beat the New Days one, yeah. But Demolition will still be my all-time longest running.
Yeah, because they actually had loads of tag teams to defend against. Like nowadays, there are no tag teams.
That's very true. So yeah, I don't know what else they can do. I think, like Tequila says, there's no tag teams. There's no tag teams at all.
No.
The tag division is kind of gone. There's nothing there. I mean, you've got R-Truth and Damian Priest. That's kind of like a tack together team. You got the New Day. What's left of them? Division. Who else? Who else is there?
But I think it's showing a peek behind the curtain. That's what I think that this is doing, because one of the two brothers is capable of doing things solo. The other one isn't. You know,
Yeah.
Jay has been pushed. He won the title. You know, he was progressing as a solo superstar. Jimmy, you barely heard anything from Jimmy. You know what I mean? He became a cheerleader almost. And they know that they can't have that with Jimmy Uso because he's this very well decorated tag team champion. And they can't alienate him because he's one of their best assets. Him and Jay, you know, together is better than one without the other.
I think they're trying to capitalize on the whole bloodline part there, because obviously the bloodline storyline, until it was ended by Cody Rhodes, really was a big deal, and it was a well done storyline, at least for WF. At least it was WWE. Always call them WF. At least WWE, because it was long term, and WWE don't really do long term very well anymore. It's not like in the olden days when there were very few pay-per-views. There's so many more shows, so they can't do the long-term booking anywhere near as effectively. But the Bloodline was a good 4-year storyline, really, from the onset of it, and that which covered the whole of Roman Reigns' title run. But ever since Rhodes beating for the belt, the Bloodline storyline, you had obviously the Solo Sikoa took over his version of the Bloodline, and then the Usos kind of went their separate ways and stuff like that. I think this is a little bit of them just kind of going back to the well, so to speak, trying to do the Bloodline storyline again, obviously with a different person, with CM Punk, but it's reminding me a lot of it. One thing I will say, I think Jimmy Uso is a little bit underrated. I actually think Jimmy Uso might have more about him than Jey Uso does. He hasn't got the yeet stuff, right, which the sheep in the audience love so much, which annoys a lot of people nowadays. Jimmy might not be as spectacular as Jay, or as you know, with the fancy glasses, but as an all-rounder, if you actually look at his stuff, I actually think he's a better worker than Jay in the ring. I think he plays the straight man and a more serious character, which is probably much more relatable nowadays than whatever it is Jey Uso is meant to be doing with the yeeting and stuff. So I think Jimmy Uso probably deserves a bit of shine, and I'm wondering if this is a way to try and get him up to the same level his brother was before splitting them up again, because I don't think they're going to be long-term tag team. I think they're going to be involved in the Punk storyline. I could see that maybe they side with Punk. They could do something like that. They could swing this a little bit, you know.
It's true. There was a bit of friction, wasn't there, in that segment?
Well, the key thing in the storyline is Roman Reigns, as CM Punk said, Roman Reigns still, even though he's been a babyface for nearly 2 years now, still has not come out and ever apologized for how he abused the Usos when the Bloodline was there. And that's a storyline that keeps getting mentioned again and again. CM Punk's mentioned it because he's the current guy they're feuding with. But other guys have mentioned it. Cody's mentioned it. Other guys Reigns has been feuding with has mentioned, oh, you've never apologized to your cousins. So I could easily see them turning on Reigns. And of course, they'll be the heel, which storyline-wise is a bit strange. It's like, well, no, Reigns never apologized. Reigns is still a douchebag. He still acts like it. Even on a segment on Raw, which we might get to in a sec, even then he was saying to them, get out of my ring. He's not a babyface. Roman Reigns is not a babyface.
No.
The people cheer him, but his character is not a babyface.
That is true, and we will come to that main event in due course. And I suppose there is a lot of comparability to them trying to make Orton a heel, but they're never, ever, ever, ever going to boo Orton. But that brings me to a match that, sadly, I could care less about. The whole build of bringing back AJ Lee was supposed to be something kind of unprecedented. They got Punk back, now they're getting his wife back, but I am over and done with AJ Lee versus Becky Bleeding Lynch. That tag title, or that tag title has, not tag title, Jesus H Christ, that title has been popped around like a hot potato, and it seems like they have absolutely no bleeding clue what they want to do with it, because any time they take it off Becky Lynch, people seem to lose interest in it, because the only reason it seems to be popular is because it's around someone at this kind of the level of Becky Lynch. But they've been kind of teasing this feud for a year now. It's obviously going to come to a head at WrestleMania. But the question is, does anybody really care?
I'm not fussed. Really?
I don't mind AJ. I certainly used to like her in a prime because she had a rare ability to cut a good promo. Her promo ability is diminished, or at least what she's doing doesn't work in 2026 as much as it worked in 2013. 2013, 2014, whenever she left. But back in her day, she was one of the better ones they've got. But the actual women's division has moved on, and now she's not special particularly. At least in the ring, she's not one of the better ones in the ring. She's okay. I'm not saying she's absolutely terrible, but when she was on top, she was one of the best. And that's why she was kind of the head of that division for a couple of years, because she was mainly wrestling guys like Xana and Nikki Bella and Brie Bella. That was the competition she had around her at the time, mostly. Nowadays, of course, there's a lot more talented women. I still don't think many of the women can cut a promo, and I think AJ Lee's still one of the better ones. But I know that Rebel really doesn't like her. I still am a big fan of Becky Lynch. I actually quite like what she does. She can go overboard, and she can. But when she doesn't go too far, I think she's actually a proper heel. And in my opinion, mate, call me an old man, there's very few guys in the business who want to be proper heels. Becky Lynch wants to be a proper heel. So that's why I've got a bit of time for her, because not enough guys want to really be booed. They always want to be cool heels. She doesn't want to be a cool heel. I respect that. That's my stance.
I want to clarify something just before I let the rest of you in. It's not that I hate Becky Lynch. It's just this particular storyline. I'm done with it. It's not a storyline that has grabbed my attention. I liked the first installment of it. I even enjoyed the second installment of it. But when AJ Lee beat her, for me, that was the end of it.
Yeah, that should have been the Mount Rushmore. That should have been the end game thing. She beat it for the title. Done.
I'm assuming that because it was in Chicago, they decided to pull the trigger. Because I will assume that maybe the original plan was that it was only going to be one and done Rebel, and it was probably going to be that Lynch was just going to probably beat her, which would have made sense because AJ Lee beat her at WrestlePalooza, AJ Lee beat her in War Games, so they didn't need to have two singles matches. You're right, but they just thought to themselves probably, oh, Elimination Chamber tickets aren't selling well. It's in Chicago. Punk's the world champion. It's the obvious thing, and then Becky can win it back. Because I reckon Becky probably was going to win the match anyway, and she will. She'll win that belt back. So you won't have to worry that much about AJ Lee, because I think we might not be seeing that much of her after WrestleMania. I think she'll go back probably.
The question is though, you're probably getting to a point where you're going to be inserting Becky Lynch back into maybe the main title picture. So that means after she wins it back, you're going to have to figure out for a way for Becky Lynch to drop the bloody thing again. And it's going to diminish because it's been moved about 5 or 6 times in the space of 2.5, 3 months.
I don't think, like, I mean, right, I'm not a fan of this Becky AJ feud that's going off, but I don't think they have any other choice than these two. I just don't. I mean, you look at the women's roster. Bayley is gone into tag team. That's what she's going for. So who else is there really? Natty's took this weird heel thing, and she's taking things very personal with a certain somebody that we've seen her beat like 7 times already. Jade Cargill obviously is going for the Women's Championship. Charlotte Flair, she's not going to drop down to the Intercontinental.
Roxanne Perez could. Roxanne Perez would be a good shot, personally.
Yeah, potentially, but I think they missed a trick. I think they should have pushed her for the Women's Championship. I don't think they should have pushed her for Intercontinental. It should be for the women's, because it's something a bit different. You know what I mean? We've seen the Charlottes. We've seen Bayley as a champ. You know, we've seen these typical names as champions. We've seen fucking hell, Mammy. I can't remember.
Rhea Ripley.
Rhea Ripley. We've seen her. You know, but she changed when she became champion. She wasn't that gritty person anymore, and I don't think Roxanne Perez would change.
Well, I thought they were doing. I thought with Roxanne, I thought that after Liv Morgan got injured, I thought they were going to do the whole Roxanne's going to kind of like get friendly with Dominic, and then Liv Morgan comes back as a face. But they didn't do it. They kind of just didn't mention. They dropped that. If you notice, they dropped that storyline. All of a sudden, Roxanne Perez is not even hanging around Dominic anymore. Liv Morgan's come back, and there's been absolutely no mention of the fact that Roxanne Perez was trying to kind of chat him up. They just quietly dropped the storyline. But I thought that was. They decided to go with Stephanie Vaquer. Why? Again, she's not for me.
They'll probably bring up again once.
I imagine they'll go back to it at some point, but they just dropped it when Liv Morgan got injured. But I thought that would have been perfect sense. Liv Morgan comes back as a babyface, wins the Royal Rumble, then catches Dominic cheating on her with Perez, and Perez could have won the belt from Stephanie Vaquer, and it writes itself. But I mean, that's what I would have done. But
I mean, I think there's people that need the push more than Becky Lynch for this title. You know, I feel like Asuka's career has been plummeted off a cliff. She's not what she used to be at all. And this thing that's going off with, is it Kairi Sane? Is that how you pronounce the name or something like? Yeah. I don't get that whole situation at all.
Can I put a question out to you, because you actually raised one that I've been mulling over? Asian superstars that have been huge in their respective promotions before they come to WWE. WWE don't seem to know how to work with them. They've made a botch of Shinsuke Nakamura. They've failed with Kairi Sane. They've failed with Asuka. They've failed with Io Sky to an extent. They don't seem to know how to use them properly.
But Triple H absolutely loves Io Sky. Loves her. Like, literally, I think if she was up for adoption, he would adopt her. He loves her that much. And he's put the biggest belt in the women's division on her. He decided to do that. And then, yeah, he's kind of just not progressed from there. I think, because like, the thing is, these wrestlers, Io Sky, Asuka, Shinsuke Nakamura, all these Japanese or Asian wrestlers are fantastic at what they do. They are amazing. Nobody else in the company can do what they do. Give them the spotlight. I don't care what it is. Create a cruiserweight title of some sort for the women and let them go for it. Let them go at it, because it'll be absolute cinema watching it.
But Com and Alan and Reb, all of you, how many Asian wrestlers have become bona fide main eventers? Not only in the WWE, but recently AEW, and even I'll go back to WCW. In America, all the big companies over the years, in American companies, the Asian wrestlers have never ever been bona fide main eventers. The closest one, I think, in the old days was maybe the Great Muta, and even he was not a full-time American. He was somebody who came over on tours. Whenever they've brought in somebody from the Asian market to be full-time, they have a ceiling, and me and Rebel, I think, spoke about this last week, and that is because of the promo. They can't get past the promo. The American audiences, most of them, at least most of the casual fans, they need the entertainment factor as well as the wrestling. And whilst most of the Asian guys are great wrestlers, very few of them can speak very good English. It's always broken English. Nakamura's got a lot of charisma, but you can't say he cuts good promos. But he's got charisma in the ring. I'd say Sky's got charisma in the ring, but when it comes to like trying to do storylines, trying to cut promos, they struggle massively. So the American audience can only buy into a certain amount, unless all you care about is work rate. Even in AEW, like Okada, right, for example, who was this amazing, like apparently one of the best. If you listen to Dave Meltzer, the best wrestler over the last 10 years, him and Kenny Omega. But he's boring. He's a good wrestler, but when it comes to the entertainment stuff, which American fans care a lot about, it's boring. I've seen something. He's boring.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I look at it a little bit different. Obviously, having the privilege and the experience to be able to actually compete, not at WWE level. But I want them to tell the story in the ring. I want to see that story develop in the ring. I don't care about the promos to cut because 9 times out of 10 it's oh, you said this about me, I'm going to say this about you, you've just said what, you're a bitch, let's say something about your family, la da da da, hit. That's what it tends to be at the moment. I want to see them tell the story in the ring during the match.
Don't you think you need both?
You do, but I think that in ring is more important.
Yeah, can I put this out to you though? We see now that their WWE are trying to play on Shinsuke Nakamura's connection with Tama Tonga, and now if Tama Tonga could cut a promo, maybe that would erode some of the American concerns with the in-ring, non-wrestling parts of the game. But I don't think Tama Tonga's that great on the mic anyway, so I'm not sure how you cure the relatability in the non-wrestling side of it to American audience.
I don't understand why they are so hell-bent on it, because look at the superstars that have been at New Japan Wrestling. AJ Styles doesn't speak Japanese, but he was massive in Japan. Massive. You know what I mean? Finn Balor is another one. Massive in Japan.
Yeah, but they look for different things. The promo stuff is not as important over there. It's not. That's how they get away with it. And the Japan market's always had throughout the years. It's always there's a certain terminology. I can't remember it, but it's the terminology for the foreigners, normally American, who come over there. A lot of like Stan Henson used to do. I remember back in the day, Stan Henson was over there. Vader was over there. Bruiser Brody was over there. They've always had a reputation of having these kind of guys from America. Like I say, there's a certain term, I can't think of them off the top of my head. There's a term that
Owen Hart was there as well.
Sorry?
Owen Hart had a spell in Japan as well.
A lot of guys, and normally they're not always heels, but normally they're heels. Eddie Guerrero made a lot of his name over there. Chris Benoit made his name over there.
Cody Rhodes.
Yep, Cody Rhodes in Japan, yeah.
So, but like I say, there's a certain terminology, but the promos, the Japanese audience don't require the promos. The Japanese audience care a lot more about what you're talking about, where it's a storytelling in the ring. But the American audiences, again, I don't want to stereotype, we're all different. But the American audiences and probably the European audiences care a lot more about the promos and stuff than anything else. But there is a certain, there's a smaller, like I say, a lot of AEW fans, for example, all they care about is the wrestling. But the AEW product is tailored to them because it is mainly 90% wrestling and 10% promos. But WWE, it's never been that. It's always been like 40, 50% segments and then 50% wrestling, if you're lucky.
I think the term is it gaijin?
Something like that, yeah.
I'm going to move us swiftly along. I'm not going to do Devon Evans a disservice by bringing him up and only giving him a minute, because I think his art in the ring deserves a bit longer than that. So we might talk about him on the next show. But I am going to take us to the finale. Roman Reigns came out to the ring, and you've already alluded to it, and dismissed the Usos. And we had Jay on the side, seemingly calling the shots and ordering the tribal chief. Is that part of the storyline that you think might be alluding to him not aligning with the tribal chief come Mania?
Sowing some seeds, definitely sowing some seeds, because they can take this two ways. They can take it to a way where the tribal chief will be like, Roman Reigns, I'm not acknowledging him. Where he could say, don't boss me around. Don't tell me what to do. I'm your chief. You don't tell me what to do. Jay can snap on him. Cool. And this could happen at Mania. He'll snap on him. Punk will take the advantage. Pin Roman Reigns. The other way is Roman Reigns may step aside. It's completely left field, but he could actually step aside and say, you know what, Jey Uso, you've stepped up. I'm impressed. You're ready to be the OTC.
Don't see that happening.
No. That's exactly. That's left field. That's completely left field.
Don't see that happening. I don't think they're going to do anything. I think they're going to work up to it and then they're going to bottle it. I don't see them splitting them up. again.
Yeah,
I think they're going to bottle it massively.
I think it's a red herring. I think the Usos are probably not going to play a part in it. There's 3 ways they can go, but I think they're most likely. You can see the storyline writing itself, really. So what does Roman Reigns want to do? So Roman Reigns alluded to this after he lost to Bronson Reed. I don't know if people remember. I think it was at Crown Jewel last year. It was the last time Reigns had a singles match before being in the War Games. He lost to Bronson Reed because the Usos screwed up the interference, right? So he lost to Bronson Reed. And then after he lost to Bronson Reed, I remember it, because he was sowing seeds. He sits up and says to them, don't get involved. I want to do this by myself. I want to do this by myself. And then Punk's now mentioning it. Oh, mention it to Reigns. The whole thing Punk's saying is, you can't do it by yourself, mate. You've got to have the bloodline. You've got to have your cousins. You can't do anything by yourself. And it's become a big part of the story. So the storyline I think they're setting up for both Punk and Reigns, I don't think there's going to be a heel turn. I think Reigns wins the belt, but he ends up respecting CM Punk. And that is the fitting end for the story, right? So Roman Reigns proves that he can, after 4 years or 5 years of being a heel where he couldn't win because he had interference. And as Punk rightly said, during his whole reign, the title reign, he barely won fairly. Every match, and me and Alan used to complain about it. Every match ended up being the same.
Yeah.
Oh, which member of the bloodline is going to interfere? Which other cousin's going to interfere? And that was the storyline for 4 years. That whole storyline was the whole thing for Reigns. So there's still that unwritten kind of story bleeding over that Reigns can't get the job done by himself and still needs to prove it. So he has to win this by himself, which he can't do if they get people involved. But Punk's character, his biggest issue with Reigns is that Reigns doesn't respect him. So Reigns beats him, but in the process, Punk gives him a real big fight. Punk nearly beats him, but Reigns just about overcomes him. And then he ends up respecting CM Punk. That way, they both remain baby faces. They'll both be over. They'll probably do the whole shaking the hand at the end of the show, raising each other's hands. It'll be a baby face thing. There won't be a heel turn. I think they'll play it as straight as that, because that is the end of the storyline. Punk gets his respect, which is all he's really wanted from Roman. And then Roman proves to the world, I can get the job done without my cousins. And they're both going to be baby faces. And unfortunately, Reigns gets the title again. Not what I want to see, but that is that's the only way the storyline plays out. Any other way,
come out.
God no. If Punk beats him, then that can't Punk. That's why Punk can't win. Punk can't win because then Reigns hasn't proven he can get the job done by himself.
Yeah, I don't think Punk's winning, actually, because I read something somewhere. I don't think he's winning.
No,
Can I offer something into the conversation? Because you were saying that you don't see them splitting Jimmy and Jay again. I has a possible solution, and his name is Zilia Fatu. And the possibility of maybe putting Zilia with Jim and letting Jay go on his own is on the table.
But it's Jimmy and Jay Uso, not Fatu and Jimmy or Fatu and Jay. You know what I mean? They will sell more shirts as Jimmy and Jay Uso than what they will with any other partner.
Yeah.
And in regards to Punk Reigns, if they play it out as what is expected of them both remaining babyface, then I will smash my head against a wall repeatedly, because I don't want to see a babyface Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is best when he's a heel, when he is hated, because he does not give a damn, and I love it. I don't like this whole babyface Roman. It's boring. It is too boring. I want him to be vicious. I want him to be nasty. I want him to tell the fans, shut up and you listen to me. Not, oh yeah, please acknowledge me. Oh yeah, thanks. And now that you've done that, I'm going to be really nice to you. And I'm going to talk to you. Now tell them to acknowledge you. Shut them all up. If somebody speaks out of line, you give them a slap. Give me the Roman Reigns, the heel Roman Reigns, but actually do it properly. Not this bloodline bollocks.
Ladies and gentlemen, Colm the Miz. When my hand goes up, your mouth goes shut.
When my hand goes up, your mouth goes shut.
We hadn't had the opportunity to talk about Finn Balor, obviously, and Dirty Dom running like a little biatch when Finn came down to the ring after Penta beat him 1, 2, 3 for the Intercontinental title. And just like the little bitch that he is, he let JD get absolutely obliterated and had a coup de grace stamp all over his candy ass. Give me 30 seconds each on what you thought of that, and then we are out of here because we have a little bit of business to do with regards to WWE 2K26, which Tequila will tell you about after.
Who wants to go first then?
Go on quickly. I hate the finish of that match. I thought it was lazy. Bella comes out. Dom's distracted for what seemed like an eternity. He does the laziest frog splash off the top rope, gets rolled up and pinned. I thought, oh, really? That is the end of the match? And then I was expecting Finn to maybe point to the WrestleMania sign, thinking, put that challenge ahead. So, you, me, WrestleMania, biggest stage that finish this feud. But he didn't. But I'm hoping this will be a Mania match. I think they need this at Mania. I think Dom needs a WrestleMania match, and I think Finn needs a WrestleMania match. And a one-on-one, I think we're serving really well. And hopefully Finn goes over.
Yeah, for me, I kind of agree with what Rebel was saying. They could have played this out for JD. They could have made JD a bigger part of this and not make it so obvious which side he was going to turn. They could have dragged it out, and depending if I don't know who's going to win the WrestleMania match. I think they're probably higher on Dominic than they are Balor, if I'm honest, because they see Dominic as being a big future star. So I can see him maybe actually beating Balor. So they could have actually saved the turn for the actual WrestleMania. And then JD could turn on Balor at WrestleMania, give Dominic the win, give Balor an out to protect Balor from losing again. Because Balor's lost a lot. I mean, Balor's lost a lot over the years anyway, but obviously he's just coming off 2 losses to Punk. Which is like, he's Punk's the world champion, and he's the main eventer, so it's not, you expect to lose to the world champion, but it's still a lot of televised losses for Balor. So he needs a win at some point, and he needs a win on a big stage. But if they wanted to give Balor some protection at WrestleMania, but to lose him to Dominic, then JD turning on Balor would have been a good option, and that gives Balor another feud with JD, who is obviously good friends with JD in real life. I think he was his mentor, maybe his trainer as well, I think, to a certain degree. So he probably wouldn't mind working with JD to try and, give him a boost up the card. I'm sure he wouldn't mind working a proper singles feud with JD, helping to raise his profile. I'm sure Balor, they're mates in real life, so that gives something for Balor to do after WrestleMania. Now that the title's not involved, which I thought it was going to be for the IC belt, but obviously it's not. So we'll see.
Yeah, I suppose just to kind of touch on that a small bit, I do agree that I felt they pulled the trigger on JD far too early in that breakup because it took away options. And I think with the way JD was buddies with Balor in the character side of things, in Judgment Day, you wouldn't have that sort of a split decision all of a sudden for someone that you were that tight with in the group. The other issue I have is that, as you said, Finn Balor ate a lot of pins. He ate a lot of pins for Dominic Mysterio. He took a lot of the Judgment Day losses when they weren't entirely sure what they were doing with the faction. And they've damaged him as a brand because NXT Finn was an absolute brute. But they've kind of damaged him in terms of the way, as you said, the way that they produced him. And heel Finn is not as effective as babyface Finn. The same as a babyface Dominic is not going to be as effective as heel Dominic. But it does leave a lot of kind of storyline holes for me. And obviously that's not something that we're not going to solve today. But Tila, tell them about what's coming up on the gaming channel because it is wrestling related.
Yeah, pretty much after this show, we'll be pretty much jumping over right away to the Play Pouch channel. If you haven't subscribe to it. Little plug. And we're going to be discussing the WWE 2K26 game. All 4 of us have played it, at least to a decent level now. I think we're going to be agreed on a lot of it, but we might differ on a couple of things. A lot of it's going to be not just about the gameplay. A lot of it is about the business practices, which you guys need as wrestling fans, which you're going to be if you're watching this show. There's only one game out there, really. The AEW game, don't get me started on that. So this is all we're going to get. So we need to stand together and try and rebel against this. Sorry to use your name, Rebel. We need to rebel against this so that they can't be allowed to pull this shit again. Put it that way.
And on that bombshell, just like Johnny Wrestling, we're going to fall over and get a 1-2-3 pin victory. Good night, everyone.